Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today our guest is Chris Sass. I'm very happy to have you here today, Chris. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me on the program.
Yes, it's our pleasure. So before we get into the topic, can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. I'm Chris Sass, as you said. I'm the co-founder of a fintech based in Switzerland that focuses on post-trade processing and OTC energy. So I run the commercial side of our business.
Super cool. Do you want to share more about it, or do you want to get into the topic right away?
Sure. I mean, the company's name is Fidectus. Fidectus basically is next generation of post-trade processing. So we help companies reduce their credit risk, improve their cash flow, and automate processes.
Super cool. So let's then jump into the topic. I hear some credit risk related stuff as well. So what would you like to share with us today? What topic would you like to discuss?
Well, absolutely. I've spent quite a bit in the last few months focusing on risk. In fact, I just finished hosting this ETRM mini-series where I brought about 18 hours of content on ETRM systems to the market. And what was important is where it touches Fidectus, which is after your risk management system does something, you go to settle. And in the settlement process, we can help you reduce your credit risk by closing the gap of how long you have to settle and free up cash flow. So that's what we do. We're a software as a service platform.
Yeah. Cool. And let's then get more in depth to the topic you would like to share. Like maybe you can start by some key things about this solution you are providing, or the credit risk or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So in OTC energy trading, there's a very still manual process in post-trade processing. And in fact, even confirmation was done this way where it's been automated for a period of time, but it was all really antiquated. It was designed more than 10 years ago. And we bring a way of doing that where it's a single workflow, and it just makes it easier for our customers to do that. And by having the visibility, the analytics, and having to be able to do things quicker, there's less risk involved. It's a little bit complex to do in a short conversation, but it's definitely changing the market. And what we see in 2022 is massive market adoption taking place in the European market for this kind of technology and on our platform.
Yeah, nice. And do you want to get more in depth to this right now? Because
happily. So basically what we do is in post-trade processing, we meet the EFET standards for electronic settlement matching and confirmation. And basically you get an XML file out, which allows you to automate the settlement process. So today a back office has human beings doing these things, and it's very slow based on the EFET standard. When you automate the process, what you can do is you can reduce that time frame significantly. And by doing that, your credit risk window closes down. And then we can also do things with trade finance or post-trade finance as well, where you can get your cash in hand or get it off your books, once again, reducing risk. And those are all parts of what we bring to the table.
Yeah. And like I hear, of course, a lot about the AI or, like automating essentially as well, rather than doing the manual work. So could you share maybe that this could be a trend in the upcoming year or upcoming 5 years, or like what do you
absolutely.
expect?
So the automation is important. It's a foundation. So post-trade processing hasn't been automated very much. There's been a little bit of confirmation, and everything from using OCR and AI to bring tech in, using APIs to bring tech in and bring the data in, and then acting on it is really there. And then what you're going to end up is the ability to predict and do different things with large data sets once you have things automated. So that's where it's headed. So that's not a 2022 thing. That's where it's headed over into the future. But people are putting the foundation in place today. So they're meeting a problem today. They're reducing risk today, improving their cash flow today. But they're also building the foundation to do some of those AI and cool things you're talking about.
Yeah, that actually sounds like it sounds like a promising future, because at the same time, if it can reduce the risk and also be less effort or things for the risk managers to actually focus on as well, that sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an element, right, of risk management. So the risk management is a very complex topic. This is just like a little sliver of the solution, but it does bring value to it, right? And it also helps with things like margin calls and things like that as well that we work on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like, of course, risk managers can be replaced by AI, but like with things like this small aspects, I think, or automation, it can help them a lot on that end.
I think it's a tool. And then from the risk management point of view, they probably want to know about it, because what they do is their risk management systems hand off the data that we need and get data back from our system. So they're very engaged in the conversation because we're the next step. We're agnostic to which ETRM you use, but we get the data from there and pass data back generally.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really interesting on that end. So I want to get into the next question, which is essentially, I hear that you guys are kind of the next step. So I kind of want to hear about like what maybe you can share with our audience, or what they can start, implementing, or what kind of next steps they can start taking, let's say a risk manager, to, like get into this
Yeah,
trend, or,
absolutely.
if
And
you
so one of the things that's happening is your vendor, your ETRM vendor, is creating native interfaces. We have a native interface program. I think I have 10 ETRM vendors already in the program. So for example, if you were an Ion customer and you're one of their platforms, you would have a native interface into Fidectus. The same as if you were like a Provice customer, or if you were a Contigo customer. So all these native interfaces help the risk manager understand where their data is going to go from their system and what's going to happen to it next. And then the question is what data do you want back from our system? So we have APIs. How are we feeding that back into your risk management performer? And does that help you as well? All things happy to talk to people about.
Yeah. And then on that end, like what would be the first step, the first, or like the only takeaway that you can perhaps like share on that end? If they
Yeah,
could implement something today, what would it be?
so the no risk moves is basically using the ETRM or the EFET ESM standards, right? So either implementing that, getting an XML file that you can export, or just making the business decision to do it and letting us do it through OCR and getting you on board and just trying it. So I think that the baby step is just get on the platform and play with it. The platform's in use today, a lot of use, and basically just sign up for an account and you play with it. That would probably be the best way to learn it.
Yeah, that sounds super nice. We are running a little bit out of time. Do you have anything else you want to share? Any last message?
No, I think it's been fun being on the program. I don't really have specifics. If you want to find out about what's coming in post-trade processing and how, as a risk person, that it's important to you, just reach out to us directly at fidectus.com and we're happy to speak to you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much on that end for sharing that. Then I have just one very last question, and that is how it is for you to be part of risk community. Like what was your experience in general being part of the risk community? Did you get anything out of it?
I think very much. It's been good being a part of it. It's a welcoming community. We do, because our solution interacts with it. I interact with risk people every day and go to different risk conferences and things like that. So I think it is valuable because we're solving a problem in that space.
Yeah, cool. Well, that now concludes our time, unfortunately. I wish I could hear more from you, but thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your expertise in this, about your company as well. So yeah,
Thank you for having me on and letting me talk about Fidectus. I enjoyed it very much.
Of course. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.